Hi everyone, my name's Taylor and I am a Star Wars Unlimited player. I've been playing Star Wars Unlimited now for about 6 months, and what I thought I would do as my first proper video on this channel is go through what my experiences have been in playing this brand new game that I very much love for the first 6 months. Just a bit of background on me. 27. I came from Magic the Gathering. I was a Magic the Gathering player before, mainly Commander, so changing to a 1v1 competitive format like SWU was quite the change for me. But I have always been a lover of Star Wars ever since I was a kid, so transitioning to something like this was seamless. I took to it like a duck to water. It's a fantastic game. The community is amazing, and I can't really say a bad thing about it. I've had my struggles starting off, and what I thought we would do is have a little look at the decks I've played and the events I've played in and see how I did, so you can see the progression of someone who's basically a full beginner. I don't claim to be a good player. I know I'm not a very good player, but I enjoy it all the same. And plus, I think you learn more from your losses than you do your wins anyway. And I lose a lot, so lots of learning. So, if we quickly have a look here, so you can see my first event here was the UK Games Expo. This was in Birmingham, and I played a Vader Yellow. Now, let me just find me. So here, 139th. This was for the Saturday. My record was 1 and 2. I was only at the expo for 1 day, so once I'd lost 2 games, I kind of gave up, which I'm not very proud of, but I did want to explore the expo. But this was only about 2 weeks after I started, so naturally, it being Jump to Lightspeed and me wanting to play a relatively simple deck, I chose Darth Vader. This was my deck list, and as you can see, it's a pretty standard Darth Vader pilot deck list. You know, I played Yellow, Coronet City, Wingman Victor 2. I had a Wingman Victor 3 in there, and that doesn't really synergize with Darth Vader, but I think I only had 2 Wingman Victor 2s. As I said, this was very early on and very early into my playing. I know for a fact that I had borrowed 2 Clone Combat Squadrons, which is a common off of a friend of mine. So yeah, very, very sort of simple, nothing overly special in this. And as I said, I went 1 and 2, but I think it was a fantastic way of introducing myself to the competitive scene. My first game actually was against a guy called Mark Fairbrother here, who, if you don't know, is Unlimited Power TCG. He has a YouTube channel, and I want to take this opportunity to say a massive thank you to Mark, because he made that an absolute joy. That he wiped the floor with me, rightly so. He was playing Luke Tarkintown, so Luke Pilot Tarkintown. Fantastic deck, by the way. But he immediately could tell that I was new. For example, I made a litany of mistakes. I had the wrong sideboard. I had a card in there that wasn't on my deck list. I had clear sleeves, which I didn't realise was a big no-no in competitive play. And he basically fought my corner with the judges and said, look, it's his first event, he didn't know, just give him a break sort of thing. And they did. And so he made that an absolute joy, and it was a brilliant lesson. Mark, you are a legend. The likelihood of you seeing this is low, but if I ever see you again in person, I will shake your hand and say thank you, because it was such a lovely introduction to the competitive scene. You know, I wasn't made to feel like an idiot. It was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. It was a brilliant event. Lots of fantastic players. I believe Ollie Simmons won that day. Big O Notation, for those who know him, with his Akbar deck, and I believe this was one of the first events he played it at, and obviously went on to do great things with that deck. So after that, we had a little store showdown for Jump to Lightspeed in my local shop, Mystic Games, shout out, in Witney. This was a 10-player event. And as you can see, there's me lingering down the bottom. I went 0-3, I lost all 6 games. I was so far out of my depth with these players. They are all fantastic players. And I was playing a similar deck list to this. So this isn't my exact deck list, I didn't save it, but it was hand 1 green. Which at the time was a pretty good deck. I know Alex Blandin, Alex the Greatest from KTOD, was doing very, very well with this deck at about the time when I started playing it. Unfortunately, I think the intricacies of the deck were a little bit beyond me at this point. I think Ham 1 is notoriously a very good leader, but quite a hard leader to pilot. And I did not pilot it properly, effectively. So yes, I got taught a lesson in that store showdown and decided that Han wasn't really for me. So after that, we then had my first ever planetary qualifier, which was Incon Gaming in Cheltenham. Still my favourite venue from any PQ I've done so far. At this event, I don't know what I was thinking, but quick shout out to Darren, one of the locals. You may have noticed him on the previous list for the Store Showdown. He actually won this PQ and got himself a day 1 buy to Galactics, so well done him. I will have to go back a few pages to find me, and there, 73rd. So I went 1-6, I played the full day. I always try to make it, after UK Games Expo, I try to make it a constant thing where I play every single game, even if I'm way losing. I think we can find out, I think I only won the second to last game. Oh no, I won in the middle. Yeah, I beat a Darth Vader Red. But again, a brilliant event, and I don't mind, as I said, I don't mind losing. I accept I am not the best of players, but I enjoy myself every single time. Talking of Big O notation, there he is, 1 place above me. And in this, I played a variation of Sealy Sun's Mandalorian Green. I actually played a Data Vault version, but it was very, very similar to this. Shout out as well to Morgan Sealy Sun. He was basically the YouTuber that introduced me to Star Wars Unlimited and got me into it. And I was gutted. I was behind him in the queue at UK Games Expo. I didn't know what he looked like, so I only realised it was him after the fact. But yeah, massive thank you to him and all the content he makes, which is brilliant. So yes, I played Mandalorian Green, which is notoriously not a meta deck. I played it because, frankly, I love the Mandalorian. He's one of my favourite characters, and I thought the effect was quite good. Obviously, Django was very prevalent not long before this, with exhausting units, and Mandalorian does exhaust units, not at the same rate. He's nowhere near as good as Django, but I thought, maybe something like that might work, and I was still in the phase of not really knowing what I wanted to play. So this, as I said, I went 1-6, still enjoyed the day, still fantastic. People were almost quite happy to see this deck, and it did put a couple of good showings in. I know, for example, I bumped into the guy I played first at a recent PQ I went to, and he remembered me and my deck. So it obviously left a little bit of an impression, even though he beat me. So yeah, that was a good deck. It didn't perform very well, but I enjoyed playing it, and I managed to achieve the one thing I wanted to do all day, which was get this boy, the Clown Car Falcon, fully loaded up with Chewie, Han, and R2, and I did it. So I was happy. Little wins. Yeah, so that was fantastic. After that, we had another planetary qualifier, this time Geek Retreat Chelmsford, which was actually held in the Marconi building in the university, which was a bit odd. It was a big conference room. It was quite cool. Air conditioning was great. So in this, I came. Let's keep going. We're here somewhere. No, we're not the last page, are we? Oh, we are. There we are. 53rd. So 1-4. This was about 2 hours away from my house, so I know I just said I'd try and play every round. I did skip one round in this, simply because it was a long day and I had a 2-hour drive home. So in this, I played a very similar list to this. Again, it's not my exact deck list. For example, I didn't play K2SO, but it's Quinlan Tarkington. Everyone knows what Quinlan Tarkington does. Again, I was still just sort of floating around trying to find the type of player I wanted to be, and I thought Quinlan was doing well at the time. Obviously, he's been one of the strongest decks since he came out. So Quinlan Tarkington is pretty self-explanatory. Everyone's played against it. Everyone knows what it does, and this was no different. I ended up going 1 and 4. So it wasn't the best showing. I mean, I actually thought I went 2 and 4 in this, but anyway, so again, not a bad showing, but still not making much progress, which is where I never got frustrated. I was still, enjoying the game, enjoying the IP, everything like that. It was nothing ever against the game, but it felt like I wasn't really getting anywhere. So this is where something else came in. I happened to start watching a lot of Thork, the YouTuber, Thork's Hot Takes, and obviously he speaks about his Team Enigma. And I've never been a big Discord user, but they mentioned about their Discord, and I thought, well, maybe that would be good to get some insight and get some chats going with some players who know a lot more than me. So I joined the Discord and noticed a little tab at the bottom that said coaching requests. Now, coaching for this sort of thing is not... I never got coaching for like Magic or anything like that. It wasn't something I'd considered. But I was enjoying the game that much that I thought that getting some form of coaching would be a good thing to do. And obviously Team Enigma they have the world champion. They have Beton, who is the world champion at the minute, along with a plethora of amazing players. So I shot my shot. I said, can I have some information about coaching? And the guy who replied to me, you may recognise him, is called I'm So Humble, and he actually top 4'd the Lille sector qualifier. So he got in touch with me and we had our first session. And at this point, as I was still trying to work out what the hell I wanted to play, I'd actually built a Director Krennic green Villainy Command Vigilance deck. It was pretty standard for what you'd expect, big splashy units, a little bit of soft control, that sort of thing. And I was getting some quite good results on Karavast and Petronaki with it, and it wasn't quite there. So I asked his opinion, and he said, have you thought about maybe running Iden Versio, and changing it to a more hard control list, and seeing, because it felt a little bit wishy-washy as it was with Director Krennic. It wasn't quite a mid-range deck, but it also wasn't quite a control deck, and it was sort of somewhere in between. Now, I'd never sort of played control. It wasn't really... I know that it can be a little bit of a pain in the arse for people to play against, and people don't really enjoy playing it. Against it, I mean. But I thought, in for a penny, in for a pound. If we're going to do it, I'm going to listen to the guy who knows a lot more than me. So I changed and I went to an Iden Versio Data Vault hard control list, effectively. And that was when the latest PQ I went to, which was this one, Board in the City in Southampton. Fantastic venue. They gave us breakfast and lunch. Heroes. Daniel Craft and Red Rufus, who ran the Vader Pilot Blue, which went round the community quite a lot after I was there, and I spoke to him, and it's a fantastic deck. Shout out to Emiliano and Silk and all that. Emiliano of the Nexus. And in this one, I don't think I'll have to go to the last page because I am there, 26th, with a 3-3 record, and a positive overall game record, which I was quite proud of, really, considering you've just seen how I did in the last ones. And there she is, Iden Versio and Data Vault. This was the list that I ran, and as you can see, it's pretty hard control. Crushing Blows, Merciless Contest, Power of the Dark Side. Basically, you will not have a turn 1 play with this, because I will claim and then I will get rid of it. And it tends to put people a little bit like doing the Quinlan Ping Tarkin Town thing to get rid of the first turn's play. It can just put people on the back foot a bit. And that was exactly what happened. When I spoke to Humble again, he said I got quite unlucky with who I played, because I played a Mother Talzin, then I played a Vader pilot, a Sabine, well, 2 Sabines, another Mother Talzin, and a Kazuda. So Control is notoriously not very good into aggro, and out of the 6 games I played 5 aggro decks. so it was a tricky day, let's say, but I won the first 2. A Mother Talzin Green, which I hadn't seen before, very interesting deck. Shout out to Ollie, I think his name was. It was a very cool deck. And then a Vader Pilot, which I managed to 2-0, and I still don't quite understand how I did that, but I managed it. I then went against Emperor Kane, who ended up, I think, 3rd. I think he top 4'd, and he wiped the floor with me. So, yeah, my streak soon came to an end, and then played against another Mother Talzin deck. This was a more stereotypical, similar to Beton's list from the GC, and just had an unbelievable amount of hand hate, pillages, force throws, everything. I didn't have a hand, basically, and that's how that went. I actually won the first game and lost the second 2 because sideboarding in a lot of hand hate is not particularly what Control likes, so well done him. And then another Sabine, which I managed to 2-1. I managed to nick a game, but it was over before it started, really. Sabine into Iden is just not a particularly good matchup for me. And then Kazuda. And I'm so sorry, I can't remember your name, but you were an absolute joy. My last game of the day, they were an amazing person, a fantastic person to talk to, had a really, really good time. So yeah, that we can see there some good progress, going from 1-6 and 1-4 to 3-3 and winning the first 2 games. And from there, that leads us on to the latest thing I did, which was a Legends of the Force Store Showdown, which, as we can see here, was last Monday. This Monday just gone. And it was the same sort of people as my regular. So we had Josh, we had Darren down here, Aaron, all my regulars, and Max, bless him. And I managed to go 6th, 3-1, with a very, very similar Iden list. I did change out. Me and Humble had another session, and we basically changed a little bit out because I was worried about Darren's Quinlan deck, and obviously aggro decks in general were not particularly good, as I said, into this. So we made some changes and put in things like Lieutenant Charlton and Agent Callus, and just a few more units to try and slow down the aggro lists where they tend to swarm the board. And with single target removal, which is what a lot of Iden is as a deck, I was finding that I was just falling too far behind. So Traitorous came in, Lieutenant Charlton, Agent Callus, along with cutting some other stuff. So I think I had 2 Annihilators in the first list. That went down. 3 overwhelming barrages went to 2. I cut a Vader and a Timely Intervention simply because it's a little bit situational, and it's realistically, Vader is a 7 or 8 resource play, because you need to timely him, otherwise it's just not a very good card, frankly. And on the 8 resource play, if you've resourced all your Timely Interventions, the 8 resource play against aggro specifically tends to be Super Laser Blast, because you just want to reset the board, try again, and go from there. Because if you've reached the 8 resource turn, the scales start to tip in the control player's favour, simply because the top end of these Vigilance Villainy command lists are insane. So, and threw in a Nebula Ignition just for good measure. So yeah, and in this we went 3-1, which I was over the moon about. I only lost 2 games the whole evening, and that was actually against Josh. I lost 2-0 to Josh, who was playing this is Josh here, who was playing Vader Pilot. and that it just swarms. It goes all over the place, and it wins before you can get to the top end, which is annoying. But there we go. So yeah, that's what we're up to. I am going to the Cardiff PQ on the 30th, so if you happen to see this, come say hi. I will be playing Iden. I'm not going to give you the list because it is slightly different to those, but we'll see how it goes, and hopefully we see a little bit more progression. Road to the Galactic Championship 2026 starts here. If you've watched this far, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, a realistic journey of someone who's starting in Star Wars Unlimited. If you're just getting into it, then I implore you to jump in at the deep end, do what I did. It's a fantastic experience. I love this game, I love this community, it is brilliant. Like and subscribe, we'll put out some more content and we'll see where it goes.